Yo, good morning, everybody. So I've had the intention to do a video on something that can cause social change for a very long time. I haven't had time to sit to do it, and I just woke up this morning and I felt like doing it. So I want to title this video as "The People, the Constitution, the Law, the Government, and the Need for a Revolution." And by that, I believe, and I hope that when you finish listening to it, you will understand a lot about these subjects I have mentioned and how they're very, very, very important for the social well-being of a community. So I'll start with the people. There's a theory called the social contract theory. It was it's said to be a theory that has been as far as Socrates and the likes, but the major philosopher that expounded the theory was said to be Thomas Hobbes. And in the theory, what he mentioned, or what he explained, something very, very, very reasonable, something everyone can relate to. I'm trying to break down. In the course of this talk, I'll try to break down what I learned as a lawyer for over 7 years in 10-15 minutes. So forgive my abbreviations and of stories and philosophies, basically. So Thomas Hobbes, what he explained was that there was a time where there were no laws, there were no constitutions, and what happened then was everybody had absolute power. Every individual had absolute power. It was more or less survival of the fittest. Thus, your neighbor has his right to liberty, has his right to life, has his right to everything enshrined within himself. And so, if he gets to his farm tomorrow and he feels like, hey, I should have, my farm should be bigger than this, he just goes on the land and expands it. That's it. Nothing to bring him to check. And his neighbor, who probably owns the parcel of land he just got to himself, can only challenge him to that extent in which he knows he has power to win, so to say. So this was going on prevalently until the people, that's first topic is the people, until the people eventually called themselves together and said, hey, why don't we have what the term a constitution? And this is because there's a Latin maxim for it. It says, homo homini lupus est. Hence, man to man have become wolves to themselves. Like, there is just, if we continue this way, there will be an end to everything. Because there is no order. There's absolute chaos because everybody had absolute power. So why don't we sit together, have a conversation, and draft ourselves a law? Now, we have to note, we are going to be giving this constitution some part of our rights, some parts of our privileges, so that at the end of the day, the collective good of humanity is at the top notch of the cultural priority, so to say. So they did that, and they came together and they drafted themselves a constitution, and then they lived by the constitution. What this tells us is that, contrary to popular belief, the people come before the constitution. It is not the other way around. It is not the constitution and then the people came. In fact, now this takes us into the next subject, the Constitution. In every constitution around the world, you just have to get hold of any constitution and open to the preamble. It's called the preamble. In every constitution around the world, China, Russia, America, African countries, wherever, you will find these words in them. It goes to us. It says, we the people, for instance, of America, it says, we the people of the United States of America hereby give ourselves this law. That in itself already says that the people come before the Constitution. Hence, if the Constitution says something that the people feel is not a revelation of what they want, the people have the right to stand up and say no to that Constitution, because the Constitution comes before the people. And now, what the things that the Constitution, the things embedded in the Constitution are matters like the legislative arm of government, the executive arm of government, and the judicial arm of government. The Constitution is more like a structure, like a skeleton, wherein flesh is then added to it subsequently, and that flesh will be the laws. But for now, let's stick to the Constitution. And the Constitution, contrary to popular belief, I don't think there's any country that has a constitution of more than 100 pages. Constitution is actually less than 100 pages. Most constitutions. It's very rare to find constitutions that have beyond 100 pages. And I understand most people think the Constitution is this big book that you dare not pick up and stuff. Like, I got to the United States 7-8 months ago, and I have a copy of the Constitution of America on my iPad and stuff. Yeah, it's that easy, and it's very important. And in fact, that was one of the first things I got as soon as I got into the United States, because you need to know the framework of a particular society to be able to function well in a particular society. So, wherever you are today, you should get a copy of the Constitution of wherever you'll be astonished as to the things you find within the Constitution. Now, I was mentioning the legislative, the executive, and the judiciary. I think those are the three things I'll try to quickly go through with us all. In every constitution, the people wrote that, because we are so much... Now, I want to explain the idea behind the legislative arm of government. Because we are so much, for instance, America has over 350 million people. Because we are so much, and we won't be able to come to an assembly every time. Like, hey, we think Hurricane Katrina is coming, and we need to disburse this amount of money, and we need the approval of the people. Because we think 300 million people cannot come to a particular place, or 300 million people cannot be on Skype at a particular point in time for us to then take a vote and stuff. We said, let's craft this arm of government. It's called the legislative arm of government. And what this arm of government is going to be doing is that whenever we have such decisions to make, whenever we have to make some laws, then this arm of government will be representing us. And that's why the House of Assembly of any state, or the National Assembly of any state, or House of Representative of any state, actually belongs to a particular region in the community. And that is why I feel like this arm of government is the most important arm of government in the entire in an entire polity. Because this is the arm of government that represents us the most, that should tell what we, the people, want. And that is why I think, or I feel like, if there's going to be an election people should take into consideration. People are most concerned about who becomes the president. I think people should take into consideration who their legislators are. That's a very primary and very key thing for everybody listening to have at the back of their minds, because these are the people that will make laws that will guide and guard you as a people in a society. And the second arm, of course, is the executive. And the executive is supposed to be like the the class prefects, say, trying to put everything in order, trying to execute the laws, so to say. That's why it's called the executive arm of government. I think that's easy enough. And the judiciary is supposed to adjudicate on the laws. Yeah. So the legislators make the laws. The judiciary is supposed to adjudicate, more or less interpret the laws and enforce them. And then the executive is there to make sure that everything goes in order. And so it has its own powers. Now, this will now take us to the next thing that affects us as individuals, which is the laws. The Constitution have been able to give power to make laws to legislative arm of government. And what this means is that it is not the Constitution. It is not in the Constitution. The laws that govern, say, your right to. That won't work. Okay, for example, tax laws, real estate laws, insurance laws. All these laws are not in the Constitution, but the power to make those laws are in the Constitution. Now, you understand that, right? And what that means is that if we don't elect the right guys to the legislative arm of government, they will make bad laws that will govern our private and pseudo-public lives, so to say. So that if the wrong guys go there and they make bad laws for us, we will be at the end suffering the repercussions. And because these guys know us or should know us, they should be able to make the right laws, and they should consult with us before they pass any bill into law. Yeah. And it's a chain. The people, the Constitution, the laws, and then the government. And I think I already mentioned what the government consists of in the previous talk. So, what's the government? The manifestation, or what eventually becomes a government, is actually an idea of the people. Thus, the people come before the government. The government doesn't come before the people. And what that means is that whenever and wherever the people of a particular country find that a government is not acting in their own interest, in their best interest, in the people's best interest, a revolution must occur. A revolution isn't or shouldn't be perceived as something extraordinary. A revolution is actually the people that were the beginning of a particular idea rising up to enforce this idea. That's simply a revolution. Some philosophers have defined a revolution as a change in a particular order in a manner not contemplated by the existing order. or by the existing government. So if a government doesn't contemplate that power will change in a particular manner or way, then it becomes a revolution. It's called a revolution. But I think, in a way, it's trying to hide away from the fact that this mode of taking charge of the government actually belongs to the people. So it is not a change in order in a manner not contemplated by an existing order. It is actually the people taking back what belongs to theirs, to them. So what do I feel about the present state around the world? I think if the people, this is why this I think this is very important. I think if the people realize that every government owes them a responsibility, because the people were the ones that came together to form the constitution that made up laws that made up a government or the government. If people understand this fact, they will be more eager to go out to protest against a particular government or a particular arm of government. I think this education, if anybody listening, if you understand this knowledge I'm trying to pass across, I think you owe it on the people to pass it across also, to let the people understand that we actually came before the government. And an example of that is, just for emphasis reasons, imagine a police officer stopping you while you're driving. The only reason you stop when you see a police officer waves his hand to stop your car is because, one, there was a law, that's the Police Act, that provided that there should be police officers in this state. And the only reason that law exists is because there is a constitution that says there should be a legislative arm, and the legislative arm should be able to pass laws on the security of the people. Now, the only reason that constitution gave that law a power which gave the man standing before you the power to wave his hand and then you stop is because you people actually sat down one day and wrote this constitution. That's it. You see, you own the power. The people have this power to execute, and that's why whenever there is a constitutional debate or a constitutional get-together to write a constitution, 51% vote is needed for any constitution to pass across. That's the majority vote of the people. And I'm sure you've seen that in Egypt and a couple of other countries that have passed laws in recent times. But this is how all these constitutions have been passed back in the days. If I must zero on a particular country, I would like to zero on Nigeria. So this morning I woke up to a news that says that the Central Bank of Nigeria's governor was suspended / sacked / expunged, whatever word you like to use for it. And I feel like until we the people understand this knowledge, understand this idea that we actually own the government, we own everything that exists, we won't have the spinal cord, so to say, to go out on the street and ask for what is ours. We believe that the government owns a country, whereas it is the people that own it. So if we go out tomorrow and protest against this atrocity, if the entire populace goes on the streets and ask that the existing order be changed, I think it's the right thing to do. I think that's how the country was built in the first place, because the people sat down, wrote themselves a constitution, and are willing to abide by the constitution if every institution created by the constitution abides by the constitution. So we only give a part of our rights because we feel like a body, a government, should be able to protect its rights even more. So if this body or this government is not protecting our rights in the way we think it should be, then we have the right to revolt against the existing order. And I think that's what I feel like. This knowledge, I actually feel like I owe it to the people of every nationality to pass across. I hope this is the beginning of something really big, something really that will cause change in the society. Thank you. Have a blessed day. I love you all. Cheers.